Do not waste your money using Groover if you're going to make these 5 mistakes. Okay, here's what I'm talking about. Have you ever used Groover? I've used Groover before. I've used it many times. It's a great platform. It's a great tool to connect you, your record label, you as an independent artist, with curators, with playlist curators, with sync licensing opportunities, with radio stations, with influencers, basically anybody who has some sort of platform where they can promote your song or include your song on their playlist or their soundtrack or whatever. There's a lot of great opportunities. It's a great networking tool. But the worst thing you can do is have some sort of scattershot approach where you just sink a bunch of money and you do it without any strategy at all. And there's 5 common mistakes that I see people make, and I've probably made 1 or 2 of these myself, and I want to break them down for you. Number 1, and you might think this is subjective, but it's kind of true, and that's submitting poor quality music. Look, I understand there's a place for lo-fi. I love lo-fi music. And while I don't think that quality is entirely an objective thing, I do think that there are some things that we can all agree on. Is it a great listening experience? Maybe that is kind of a lo-fi warm tape sound, but is it just a nice listening experience? Some people who hear that low-pass, warm, vintage sound may think that it's missing high-end. And some people who think that like a broad spectrum of sounds in hi-fi music is maybe too much information. They like something a little bit more warm and warbly. What matters is that it's a good listening experience. It's not overly compressed, but it's also just not way too loud and hurting on the ears and unbalanced. The people who want to include your song on their playlists want to do it because it fits and it creates an incredible product for them. Their product is their playlists, and people come to them because they curate good music. They want that hour-long or 3-hour-long playlist to be a great listening experience. If they're playing it in a hotel lobby, they don't want something that's poking through that just sounds weird and in the wrong space. So yes, music is subjective, quality is subjective, but make sure what you're submitting is good quality. You can upload a WAV file, you can have it mastered online or through your mastering engineer. You might be thinking, I'm going to submit a demo and then I'll submit the real track later on. That's just not a good approach. Most curators want a finished product, something that just sounds great. It feels good. Number 2, and this is the biggest one, targeting the wrong contacts. Some people think I'll spend $100 and just submit my song to as many blogs and as many playlist curators as possible, and hopefully something will stick. This is not a good approach. It's a great way to waste money. It's like if you were running a Facebook ad for local guitar lessons in your city, but you are running these Facebook ads to everybody in the world, whether they wanted to play guitar or not, whether they were in your hometown or not. The point is you have to be really strategic with who you submit your track to. It's not really hard to do. Spend a little time listening to the playlists that these curators have on their profile. Would your song fit on that playlist? And be specific. Say, I listened to your playlist XYZ, and I think my track would fit really well on there because it's a great song to study to, or it's a great song for road trips. If you found a blogger who writes about really obscure ambient music and your music is really obscure ambient music, then submit to them and pitch it that way. But it makes no sense to submit your ambient, obscure music to a rock playlist. I know this sounds obvious, but it's shocking how most people will just throw everything at everyone and hope that something takes. Not only should you not do that, but you should really do the legwork of finding curators that are a good fit. If you spend a couple hours searching through everyone and you only find 5 that you think are perfect fits, that's okay. That's very strategic. Mistake number 3 is not taking into account the feedback you receive. I'm super guilty of this. When I make music, I don't want anybody's input. That's kind of a flaw, I think. Maybe a little bit of a strength, but it's a little bit of a flaw as well. There has been feedback I've received from friends and from music peers and from curators that I've ignored in the past. I would say for the most part, do your thing. Don't conform your music to what other people think it should sound like. Don't make your music more commercial because you think you'll be more successful with it. Having said that, you might be missing a chance to grow. You might be missing a chance to refine your art. So, with a lot of maturity and a lot of willpower, read the comments, read the feedback, and think to yourself, what can I take from this? Even if they're 100% wrong, even if they're too late telling you to turn down the snare. Well, the album's already out. Be mature as an artist and say, what can I pull from this? Maybe I should compare the sound and the level of my snare to some of my contemporaries. Do I have a reason as to why my snare is so loud in the mix, or was it actually an accident? It's okay. That's creative maturity. But ultimately, don't let the feedback change the type of music you make. That's a mistake as well. Number 4 is neglecting the visuals. What does that mean? Well, the artwork for the single, the press photo that you use in your profile, what your website looks like. If you include a press one sheet, does that look good? There are so many opportunities for you to use visuals in your profile on Groover and in your submission. Even if they go to check out your Spotify to see if you have listeners or to see if you have a back catalog, what does your Spotify look like? If they hop over to your Instagram to look into you a little bit more, to see, are you going to share their playlist or their blog post if they write about you, or if they share your song on their playlist? Of course, we would love the cream to rise to the top. We would love for everything to just be about our music and not to care about our image. But unfortunately, that's just not the way things work. We're a very visual society. For that reason, make sure you're putting at least a little bit of effort into the album artwork, into your press photo. And part of your visuals is how you communicate with the curator, the overall presentation of your submission. If you've ever received a demo from someone or you've received a spam email, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Something that's not personal at all. Maybe they got your name wrong, or they spelled your name wrong, or they got your company wrong, or your band name wrong, or they're writing to you and they say that they've listened to your music, but you know it's a copy and paste email and they probably didn't listen to your music. You know what I'm talking about. This happens all the time online. Don't be just another one of those. Don't be like, hey, I love your blog. Here's my new song. Don't say, cool playlist. Please put my song on your playlist. You should be really personal. You should craft a custom message for each submission. Read a little bit about them. Check out their social media. Check out their website and their playlists, all of their playlists. Not only should your submission look good, but it should be presented really well. That's in your messaging, your visuals, and how thought out your submission is. Finally, mistake number 5 is using Groover without a clear strategy. When you're preparing your new release, whether it's an album, an EP, or a single, whether you're a record label or an independent artist, oftentimes marketing and PR is an afterthought. We've spent so much time in writing, recording, mixing, mastering, thinking about the artwork, the music videos, the tour. By the time we're ready to release this album, we're kind of over it. We're almost thinking about what comes next. So to actually have to sit down and to promote your music is probably the hardest thing about releasing new music. I know a lot of you would agree with that. And so when it comes to investing time and money into a platform like Groover, a lot of people are just like, well, here's $50, here's $100. Let's just do this as one of the many things I'm doing because I've been told I probably should do this. That's a waste of time and a waste of money. It's not going to work. And so if you look back on previous campaigns and you think, well, I've already tried this, I've invested money and it didn't work, that's probably because you didn't have a clear intentional strategy behind your campaign. Think of it as a campaign, like a politician getting people's votes. Before you submit anything or spend any money, set out some clear goals. What do we want from this? I know for me, the most ROI that I see is getting on a good playlist. In fact, if I get on 1 or 2 good playlists, it starts a bit of a snowball and some other people and even editorial playlists will start to notice the track. So for me, I might say my goals are to get on 1 amazing playlist, just 1, and then maybe 2 or 3 pretty good playlists, and then maybe another 2 or 3 okay playlists based on how many monthly listeners they have. That could be my goal. Maybe my goal is more simple than that. Maybe it's just 1 really, really good playlist. So I'm going to invest my entire budget into submitting to only 2 or 3 really, really powerful playlist curators. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to spend time on my submission, make sure everything in my profile looks good. Make sure I'm being very thoughtful in the copy that I write in the submission. And after, I'm going to analyze the results. I'm going to see what worked and what didn't work. Maybe I resubmit, but with a different song. Maybe if I really wanted to get on this playlist and they gave me feedback that I could actually implement, then maybe I go back in and tweak the mix if I'm okay with that. And maybe I resubmit and say, I really took your feedback to heart and I made a couple tweaks that would make this song fit better on your playlist. That's happened to me before. I had a song that they really liked, but it had some field recordings coming in and out. And so it made the sound, because it was like a transition track on the album. So it made like pressing play on that singular track a little bit jarring because it started with these field recordings abruptly and it just didn't sound very good. And so I was declined because that would have ruined the listening experience on their playlist. Now, if I had gone back into Pro Tools and muted the field recordings and had the song just start naturally and then resubmitted it, maybe I'd have more success. The point is that you cannot just throw everything, throw all this money, just quickly send a blast email to everyone. You got to be really strategic. I do this too when it comes to emailing some of my press contacts. I don't just copy and paste all of their emails into my CC line and then just say, hey, everyone, listen to my music. If they have shared my music in the past, or we have some sort of relationship or some sort of connecting point, then I will send an individual email to every member of the press and I will connect with them on a real level. The same approach needs to happen when you use a platform like Groover. You can use the link in the description to test out Groover. And if you do, make sure you avoid all of these mistakes. If there are other mistakes that you've made in the past when using Groover, let me know in the comments below. And let me know if you have any questions about how to run a good campaign. Thanks for watching.